Hi guys, there's a video that I've been wanting to record for a long time, and then I got COVID, and then it didn't happen, and now we're here. So today I just want to talk about this topic and move on with it. Let's fix a few more relationships and let's think about some of the things that are so important that we consider when we're making choices about people that we're going to be with for the long haul. One of the basic concepts that must be considered and must be discussed with this person is, do you guys, the two of you who are wanting to be in this committed long term relationship, share similar dreams and aspirations? Or even if the dreams are different, because two different people would never want the same things, but are these dreams, visions, and aspirations things that you can marry? Do they work together? Sometimes you meet this guy, he looks so good, you're so excited about him. The guy wants to go into ministry, for example, he wants to be a pastor. Are you prepared to be a pastor's wife? Are you ready to take up the mantle and become a pastor's wife? It's a very demanding job. I feel that it's a calling that must be upon your life, and if it's not, it's hard, right? I've seen people who met each other and they thought they were all going to have professions. One is going to be a businessman, the other's going to be a nurse and whatever. And now all of a sudden, the man says he's been called and he wants to go into ministry. And the wife is not quite ready. She doesn't share that vision, and it becomes really, really difficult. So it is quite important that you make sure that the dreams and aspirations of the two parties coming together marries. Because if it doesn't, then it causes a lot of conflict. Now, all of a sudden, a woman who thinks they're going to have their husbands to themselves, they're going to, be able to spend quality time together. It's all about the kingdom mission. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with somebody being called by God. But if the man has this vision that that is what he wants to do, and the wife isn't quite following through with that, it causes a lot of conflict. It does, because now you have to wait till your wife is also called by God and she understands that she has to support the husband through ministry in order for things to work out. And it can be a very difficult, painful, long process. So if it can be avoided, you avoid it, right? There are lots of women who never signed up to being a pastor's wife because it is not easy. Members will call your husband at crazy o'clock, and your husband has to get up and go. That may be the night when you also want your husband to be at home with you. You have things you want to discuss. You just want to have your close, intimate time, and you can't, because your husband is no longer just for you, but for the people. And it's a very difficult thing for the wife and then children to work out and come to terms with. So, if this is the tunnel vision, if this is what the husband or the wife is being called to, do you see yourself in ministry? Is this something that you can do? Can you support your husband through his vision while still keeping yours? These are difficult, tough questions that must be asked, right? And it's not just ministry, it could be anything. There's some professions that demand a lot of the spouse who is in it. Judges, um, military men or women in uniform, both partners can be separated for long periods of time. So the crux of what I'm saying is that make sure that your dreams, visions, and aspirations marry and align with each other. They can complement each other. They can sit side by side with each other before you get into it. A lot of us have these preconceived ideas about marriage and how fantastic it is, because you read a lot of Mills and Boone stories on the run up to getting married. And then what happens is that a lot of couples, especially the brides, get into the marriage and it is nothing like anything you've ever read in any novel. The reality on the ground is anything but what you thought it would be. I've been married before, so I know what I'm saying. This fairy tale hula baloo idea that you have in your mind about what the marriage is going to be like, it's nothing like that at all. The first 2 years, and this is researched, I'm not just talking out of my ass, I'm actually saying this and it's factual. Go research it yourself, that the most difficult, challenging period of the marriage is the first 5 years. When you're supposed to be having the honeymoon phase, it can also be the most challenging, difficult time of your marriage, because you're two different people, brought up differently, different homes, different upbringing, the way you do things completely different. You know, you'll be surprised at the things that can cause rifts in families, right? You have a husband who doesn't see anything wrong with peeing, and some of the pee drips by the side of the toilet or whatever, and or they drops of it on the seat, and he just walks away, and you're the wife and you're prim and proper, and you don't want to see none of that. You want everybody to clean up after themselves and be, and it can be very different. When you're dating your boyfriend, girlfriend, oh yeah, everybody is keeping up appearance. You live in your house, he lives in his. You go out and hang out elsewhere. What are the odds and chances that you go to see his house and see how he lives? Maybe just before you get there, he's gotten cleaners to clean the house. So it is when you actually live under the same roof that you're getting to know who this person that you're calling husband or wife, who he or she really is. You have a wife who is not really dirty, but she's untidy. But she has, her mess is an organized mess, which you don't understand. You go to her office, if it's in this day and age where it's working from home has become a thing on the back of COVID, you enter her office and there's papers everywhere, but she's an organized mess. She understands her mess. It doesn't necessarily work for you. And so there are little niggly bits and things that can cause a lot of rift in the home. And it is important that before you actually get into the marriage, you understand that these are things that are likely to happen. I think, sometimes to be forewarned is to be forearmed. When you know what to expect, when you know what the pitfalls are, I think your mind is better prepared for it, and you have the strategies and coping mechanisms in place to know how to deal with the situation. It's when you don't know. It's when you have this hula baloo, fairy tale, Cinderella mindset about marriage, and then you walk into it and it's nothing but. That is when the shock happens. And that's when there can be very serious conflicts. And there's also this thing about cleaving. It's a big thing. Cleavage. When the Bible says that the man and wife, for this reason, the man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. That cleavage is a big word. And it's not just the husbands, it's the wives too. The two people need to understand, the families need to understand what cleavage actually means. When they say cleave, it means something. There's some men who are so hooked onto their moms. And I get it. Maybe your mom was a single mom. She went through hell raising you. And so now, you've become so close. You do everything together. You're inseparable. And now the mom is seeing the wife to be as some kind of a competition or a threat. And there's all this rift, and it can cause big problems in the home. So you, as the son, the bride, must understand that you're leaving your old family. That doesn't mean you don't talk to them. That doesn't mean you don't call them. That doesn't mean you don't have relationships with them. You do. But you're leaving your mom and father to cleave to your spouse, and the two of you start a family of your own. That means that there are boundaries that the two of you must respect to each other and to your families. And the families must also respect that boundary with the two people who are trying to cleave. A lot of the times, putting yourself in the shoes of the parents are anxious because this is their priceless possession, be it the groom or the bride. In a lot of cases, the parents of the bride, anxious. Is this man going to take care of my property? This priceless possession of mine that I've spent years investing in, is he going to take good care of it? Is he going to cherish? Is he going to love? Is he going to protect, profess, and provide? Right? And then sometimes in the case of the groom also, the mothers of the groom, and this is my son. My son likes this kind of food. My son likes it this way. You have to do it. He's my son. I know what he likes. Mama, you cannot marry your son. Your son has chosen this woman as the wife. Let them go figure it out for themselves. Don't try to extend the motherly son relationship into the marriage. He knows who his wife to be is. Let the two of them go figure it out. And I heard a story recently, and I'll use that as a point to explain the situation about what I'm saying when I'm talking about cleaving. This is a big topic. I'm just touching on some of the things. It might be that we have to talk about this on a much more bigger scale at a later date, but these are some of the things that we need to be considering in choosing and deciding who it is that we want to be with, so that you don't cause no rifts and issues down the line. So there's this guy, and he's married, and he's got 2 children, right? He wants to go into medicine. So whilst living alone as a bachelor, he came into money, and he bought his own little place, and he was there. Obviously suited them. When he got married, there was a nice nesting place for the wife. And then as the years went by, the children. Now, this man wants to do medicine. We all know how expensive medicine is anywhere, even in Africa, very expensive. In the West, even more so. So now it comes to the point where the guy has to sell the nest in order to invest some of the equity that he got, or the money out of the sale of the house, into his dream of doing medicine, paying for his school fees, this, that, and the other. So he made the money, let's say $100,000, and he split it. He used 50 to see to all of that. Now, instead of investing the other 50,000 in a house and making sure that he's found a new nest for his wife and children, he decides that he loves his dad so much. So he's going to invest that money in his dad's house. Renovation, this, that, and the other, lend some of it to the dad as they were remortgaging. Big mess. Now, the dad was split from the guy's mom. So the father was living with a new woman who is a stepmom to the guy we're talking about here. Now, investment had happened. There was money from the guy invested in the father's house. And the plan was, when the house upscales in value, the father can then, send the money back or give the money back with interest or whatever. And then suddenly the guy's dad gets sick, and unannounced, he's dead. Have the funeral. The stepmom is behaving as if she loves, the stepson so much, and nothing's going to happen. Their love is, So they have the funeral, and this woman also has, children with this guy that died, the stepmom being. So the guy's dead. They've done the funeral and everything. The woman now tries to convince this guy to still invest more money in the house. Oh, your dad has died, and now I don't even have a cooker that works in the house to cook for us to eat. So the guy is taking more money, yet more money, and changing all the appliances in the house. Once it's all said and done, the house is now modern and everything. The stepmom sells the house. Instead of giving the guy's share of the money invested in the house back, she divvies up the money among her children that she had with the guy and forgets about this one who thinks he's made investment in his dad's house and is going to yield a return. When we talk about cleaving, leave your mother and father and cleave to your wife and have a new home. These are some of the things. He didn't prioritize his wife and children, and yet he's the husband. He's supposed to leave his mom and dad and cleave to his family. I'm not saying forget about your dad. I'm not saying forget about your mom. But when you're a married man, your priority is with your new family first. Your new family first. And then your parents. It will sound horrible to some. It will sound mean to some. But that is what marriage is. You cannot be in a marriage and the first people that matter to you in your life is your father and mother. Then go marry them. I'm not saying forget about them. I hope you guys are actually hearing what I'm saying. I'm not saying forget about. I love my dad to bits. I love my mom to bits. I'll do whatever I can to help them. But if I'm living with a man in my house who will be my husband in any case, there is no way I can say that I'm not paying my side of the bills in the house. If it's food, if it's rent, if it's mortgage, whatever it is, my husband and I would agree that. But I cannot run away or shy away from my responsibilities as a wife to my husband, the things that I have to do in our marriage, and prioritize my parents first. And my parents understand this. They also had to leave their mothers and fathers and cleave. It's why I'm here to be telling you this. If my dad prioritized his mom, and if my mom prioritized her dad, how would my school fees be paid? How would I now sit here and be telling you what I'm telling you today? So, if you really, truly, honestly want to be married, you must understand that marriage means that you're leaving your mother and father and cleaving to your spouse. And the two of you become one flesh. And yes, when the bills are paid, when your kids are catered for their school fees, everything is paid for. Make provision for your wife, your mom and dad, and their upkeep, paying for medical bills or whatever. And this is why, in a lot of cases, I always keep telling you guys that both parties in the marriage must be empowered, especially we women. Because these are some of the things that cause the conflict. You're not working. You are a housewife. You are sitting at home. You want your husband to go and work and pay mortgage, buy you car, do everything, school fees, and then take care of your parents on top of that. I mean, we are human, We'll do it today. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it next year. After a while, people get fed up. But when you're empowered as a woman, and you're also making contributions to the homestead, you are empowered enough to know that, okay, this is what must go to my first home, which is my husband and children, or my wife and children. Beyond that, you also have the ability to support your parents and the family that you had before you got into this new family with your spouse and children. Cleavage is such a big thing. Another thing, a lot of us, especially in our African community, when we get married, we marry the whole family. It's not just man and wife go and elope and go and stand somewhere and exchange rings like our Oyibo partners do. That's not how we do it. The marriage involves the two families, and there's a reason for that. And I love that aspect of our culture where there are boundaries. I'll qualify that with boundaries, healthy boundaries. But there must be people who support, pray for, advise, and support the marriage to thrive. But this can also be very problematic in terms of parents and family members not knowing their place and boundaries and always interfering. You are not doing it right. Then how can you cook this kind of food for my son? Mama, your son chose a wife. Your son, he chose a wife. Allow your son to enjoy his wife's food. When he comes to your own house to visit, you can cook pounded yam and bitter leaf soup the way he likes it. You know he likes it for him. But he has chosen a wife. Allow him to live and learn to love his wife and eat his wife's food, okay? Don't move in with... I remember watching a Nigerian movie where the man had married a woman. They were living together. They were both professionals. Every so often, the mother-in-law, the man's mom would always come visit. And every time she came, the wife was so unhappy. She picked on everything the man's wife did. You are not looking well. You have not dressed up well. Look at how you have laid. Even to the extent of going into their matrimonial bedroom and seeing how the bed is laid. And sometimes in the middle of the night, the groom's mother will come into the room and want to sleep next to the son. We see these things as, oh, it's just in a movie, but it actually happens. There's some people who are that unreasonable. You must understand that you cannot marry your son. I know you love your son. You spent so much money. You suffered with him. I know. But your son is now an adult who has to also live and live his life. It's so hard for parents. I know it was so hard for my dad to do because he loves me so much. Fathers love their daughters so much. They want the best of everything for them. It is hard, but at the end of the day, you cannot marry your own daughter. You cannot sleep with your own daughter. Abomination. So you must allow her to go make a life for herself. Support her, pray for her, give her advice. That is your new role, advisory role when required. And when you do that, you earn the respect of not just your daughter, but even your son-in-law. Right? It is hard. It is hard for the parents to sit on the fence and do nothing. It is hard, but it must be done. It must be done. And the couple, the bride and the groom, must also create those healthy boundaries for the extended family. Your mom and dad must know their place. They must know their place. Yeah. Your stepmom your mother-in-law cannot be calling you at 12 midnight when there's no emergency. I need to talk to my son. You know, when my son and I were living together, every day we used to talk together. So today we must talk. No. Your son is now a married man. Allow him to sit in his marriage and enjoy his marriage. Very important. But you see, it is very, very necessary that we have the support of, the families. In cases of emergency, in cases where there's trouble, the family is all there to help, to support things. But as I said, at the same time, boundaries must be in place. So you've married somebody's son, married somebody's daughter, and now you're calling this person your better half. If that person is truly your better half, it means that you love your better half. Any man who does not love his wife does not love himself. Because if you do, and you understand that you're leaving your parents and you're cleaving to this woman, and you're calling this woman or man your wife, your husband, you love that person. Love doesn't mean you become a doormat and you're stupid. When you love somebody, you don't want any harm to come their way. You don't want them to be in any pain. You want to make sure you've provided for them. You want to make sure they don't lack anything. And they are happy. They're secured. They're protected. That is love. Love is help. Love is compassion. Love is compromise, patience. You don't turn your marriage into poverty alleviation fund. Like, have a positive mindset to come and support the whole marriage as a vocation and make it work. Guys, I could go on and on, but these are a few nuggets for now. We shall talk about marriage again and pick on some other things to discuss. But I hope that this is at least clear enough that you make sure that your aspirations and dreams and goals and ambitions in life marry with whoever you're choosing to be with. And you're making sure that you actually understand what it means to go cleave and become one body, so that your marriage can withstand the first 5 years and beyond. And you can have peace, because life is hard and stressful. Why make it even more stressful than it already is? I love you guys so much. As I said, I could keep going on and on, but I hope that this is a good advice for somebody. There are nuggets that you can pick out of this. And when you're choosing, you choose wisely. If you've already chosen and there are certain things that you're not doing, you start to do them. Very important. I love you guys. My name is Sika. Please, please, please watch the adverts that are inserted in the videos. Don't skip them. Guys, I need your support. Every penny, every cent, it counts. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to close down this page and stop doing videos. And I know that's not what you want. So please watch the videos. Watch the ads. Replay the ads. If you're not sending me no stars, at least do that for me. I beg you. I love you. Bye.